So, Steve, let's take it through Saturday situation and the follow-up in regards to post-game comments and the news conference after that in regards to your biggest takes. I think we got to start at quarterback.
Yeah, I think it was a tough day, obviously, for Ohio State offensively, and that began with Kyle McCord at quarterback. 20 of 33. He made some good throws. He missed on some other throws and some other reads, and just kind of an up and down day. And where Ryan Day had hoped to get Devin Brown into the game as well, the way the game was going, where it was 7-3 late in the first half, Indiana made just an amazingly galactically stupid decision to go for it on fourth down with about a minute and a half to go instead of putting the ball inside the 10-yard line and going into halftime trailing 7-3. They gave Ohio State good field position. The Buckeyes went down and kicked a field goal. It's 10-3, but the Buckeyes really didn't put this game away until late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. And so it was a four-quarter game. The plan to rotate quarterbacks was scuttled because Ryan Day was simply just trying to get out of Indiana with more points than Indiana. Indiana had one of the worst offenses that we're going to see. And I made this comment on our radio show this morning. The defense played outstanding, but let's don't crown them just yet like we tried to crown them last year after they rolled through the murderer's row of Notre Dame, Rutgers, Northwestern, Iowa, Indiana, who none of which could get a first down. And you thought, we've got something with this defense. The defense actually looked and felt a lot better. The offense, back to the initial question, did not look and feel a lot better. It was 3 steps backward from what we've seen Ohio State put on the field in recent years under Ryan Day. Some of that was Kyle McCord. A lot of that was the offensive line. Running game that was just stop and start all day long. And a lot of reasons, a lot of things that go into this. So it's back to the drawing board, I think, for Ohio State offensively as they go into week 2 against Youngstown State, a team that they should beat. The 2 previous times they played them, it was 38-6, 43-0. So figure it's going to be in that realm, so to speak. And Ohio State's got to get back to being a little bit more consistent on offense and show that they're competent. I think competence would be a good first step for the Ohio State offense.
Dare to dream. What Kyle McCord did, just looking, I jotted down his just the distance the ball traveled through the air on all 33 of his passes. And in the first half, he only had 2 passes that went only had like 2 or 3 passes that went beyond 10 yards until the final drive, the final minute when they're throwing, trying to throw into the end zone there. And so it was a lot of short passing for him. He got more courageous and more adventurous in the second half, but 20 of his 33 throws were under 10 yards through the air. And so that gives you an idea of the lack of time he had to throw at times, perhaps just the lack of patience. First start since 2021. We know Ohio State runs a lot of slow developing routes, long developing routes, because they like to go downfield. So you have to stay in there and you have to wait for it. And, he was throwing a lot of short passes. 11 of his 33 passes were 4 yards or under 4 yards. So that they're going to throw some short stuff for the screen. But then in the second half, you saw him going downfield more. And he was, I believe, 10 of 16 for 145 yards in the second half, not including the Marvin Harrison touchdown that got removed. So he was more comfortable in the second half. I think Ryan Day needs to get more comfortable with him in terms of the play calling. And I think everybody needs to get more comfortable with the offensive line, including the offensive line. And I think it was disappointing that Matt Jones and Donovan Jackson, neither one of those 2 guys graded out a champion. Those are veterans. They are returning starters. They should have played better than they did. So, we could talk about, and we will talk about Josh Simmons, but the fact that those 2 guys weren't able to get any kind of push or enough push or create enough holes for the running backs, I think it's It's not concerning yet because, as Ryan Day said, everything is fixable. But that was surprising that they weren't able to be more forceful. But it only takes one weak link in the offensive line to kind of screw everything. But I'll stop there. I'll let Kevin talk, and then eventually we'll start talking about the defense again.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I did a software update and I was logged out of everything. So I was trying to find passwords to get here and get on the show. At risk of repeating things that both Steve and Tony said, it's kind of a bit of a chicken or egg situation. Is it a case that Ryan Day is not comfortable with Kyle McCord to call certain plays? Is it a case of Kyle McCord is not comfortable with Ryan Day or the offense to make certain passes? I think everybody probably was not very comfortable with the overall performance of the offensive line. You have quite, honestly, the top two receivers in the nation in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, and you get 5 total receptions there. I know Marv was targeted 8 times. I mean, obviously he had the one play where he was sort of kind of forced out of bounds, but didn't fight hard enough to get back in, or whatever that was that took a touchdown off the board. First starts are first starts, and we can sit there and look back to Akron in 2021 and say, well, Kyle McCord has already played a game. Well, yes and no. So I went back and I looked at some numbers of quarterbacks in their first start, and we're not too far out of line. And generally, from game 1 to game 2, we're seeing about a 6 to 8% increase in completion percentages. So if we take that in the middle, suddenly Kyle McCord is a 67% completion rate, which is still a little south of the 70 that Ryan Day would like to have his quarterbacks at, but I mean is certainly better. There were a lot of things that needed to be addressed in that game, but the good news is, to steal a line from somebody who spent some time in Columbus, the best part of being 1-0 is the opportunity to go 2-0 and ask Clemson what it's like to play a conference game on the road. And you're gonna get a very different tone coming out of that sleepy little town in South Carolina.